Picture this, a $500 million racetrack rising from the desert. Not just any track, the longest Formula One circuit ever proposed for the modern era, 21 corners, over 6 kilometers of pure racing intensity, and a 70-meter vertical climb that engineers are calling the Blade. Saudi Arabia is building a Formula One circuit that will rewrite the rulebook. Here's what makes this insane. While most new circuits try to play it safe with proven designs, the Saudis are building the most ambitious, most technically challenging, most expensive per lap circuit in Formula One history. They're spending $500 million to create a track that will push drivers, cars, and engineering to absolute limits. And once you understand why they're doing this, the picture becomes clear. This goes far beyond racing. A kingdom is staking its entire future on a strategy that could either reshape the Middle East or become the most expensive gamble in motorsport history. Let's dive in. Welcome to Qiddiya Speed Park Circuit, a name most racing fans haven't heard yet, but one that's about to dominate Formula One conversations for the next decade. The numbers are staggering. $500 million. 6 to 6.6 kilometers of track length, making it one of the longest circuits on the entire Formula One calendar. For context, that's longer than legendary circuits like Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, longer than Silverstone in the UK, longer than almost anything currently on the F1 schedule. 21 corners. That's more corners than most circuits have in total. Each one is carefully designed to test a different aspect of car and driver performance. Hairpins, chicanes, fast sweepers, technical sequences that will separate the champions from the pretenders. But here's where it gets truly wild. The circuit features a 70-meter elevation change called the Blade, a dramatic incline that will be visible from kilometers away. To put that in perspective, that's roughly equivalent to climbing a 20-story building over the course of the track. Most modern F1 circuits are relatively flat because elevation is expensive and engineering intensive. The Saudis don't care about expensive things. The straightaways will allow cars to hit speeds of 325 kilometers per hour. That's faster than most commercial airplanes travel at takeoff. Drivers will experience sustained G-forces that push the limits of human physiology, and then, seconds later, they'll be breaking into technical corner sequences that require surgical precision. Engineers are designing spectator facilities that can accommodate tens of thousands of fans with sightlines that actually matter. Unlike traditional circuits where you might see cars for 5 seconds per lap, Qiddiya's layout is designed to keep cars in view longer, create multiple overtaking zones, and deliver the kind of wheel-to-wheel racing that makes Formula One exciting. This is a live project. Construction is already underway. Right now, in the desert outside Riyadh, massive earth-moving equipment is reshaping the landscape. Engineers are grading the circuit route. Foundation work has begun. This is happening. The target completion date is 2027. That means within 3 years, Formula One drivers will be attacking this circuit at the absolute limit of what their cars and bodies can handle. Now, here's where this story gets really interesting. Because this $500 million racetrack, it's not really about racing at all. Saudi Arabia already has a Formula One race. The Jeddah Corniche circuit, which opened in 2021, is one of the fastest street circuits on the F1 calendar. It cost over $800 million to develop. Drivers call it terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure, with blind corners and barriers so close to the track edge that mistakes are instantly punished. So why build another one? And why spend $500 million doing it? To understand this, you need to understand Vision 2030, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's master plan to completely transform Saudi Arabia's economy. The goal is simple but massive. Reduce Saudi dependence on oil from 50% of GDP to less than 20% by 2030. That's only 6 years away. Here's the reality Saudi leadership faces. Oil will not dominate the global economy forever. Electric vehicles continue to rise. Renewable energy keeps expanding. Countries across the world are committing to lower fossil fuel consumption. A nation built on oil wealth now needs a long-term backup plan. And that backup plan is tourism, entertainment, and sports. The numbers tell the story. In 2019, tourism contributed just 3% to Saudi GDP. The government wants that number to be 10% by 2030. That means attracting 100 million international visitors per year, up from 17 million in 2019. Think about the scale of that transformation. That's like turning a quiet suburban neighborhood into Las Vegas in less than a decade. Qiddiya Speed Park Circuit serves as the centerpiece of a vast entertainment city known as Qiddiya. The full development will exceed the size of Orlando's Disney World, bringing together theme parks, water parks, motorsport facilities, extreme sports venues, and cultural attractions within a single, integrated destination. The circuit will host not only Formula One but potentially MotoGP, endurance racing, track days for wealthy car enthusiasts, and motorsport academies. It's designed to be active 300+ days per year, not just a handful of race weekends. Formula One sits at the center of this strategy for a clear reason. F1 operates as a global entertainment brand that attracts some of the world's wealthiest spectators. The average Formula One fan has a household income roughly 50% higher than fans of other major sports. These spectators travel internationally, stay in luxury hotels, dine at high-end restaurants, and spend thousands on premium experiences. A single Formula One race weekend can inject $200 to $400 million into a local economy. Not from ticket sales alone, but from hotels, flights, restaurants, tourism, and global media exposure worth billions in advertising value. Saudi Arabia is building a magnet for the world's elite travelers and demonstrating its ability to host world-class sporting events on par with Europe, America, and Asia. Let's talk about what makes Qiddiya Speed Park Circuit an engineering nightmare in the best possible way. First, the length. At 6 to 6.6 kilometers, this will be among the longest circuits in modern Formula One. Only Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium is comparable, and Spa is considered one of the most challenging circuits in the world specifically because of its length and elevation changes. Longer circuits present unique challenges. More track surface means more maintenance. More distance means more safety equipment, more marshal posts, more medical response stations. Every additional meter of track multiplies the complexity. But the length also creates opportunities. Modern F1 cars are so evenly matched that overtaking has become incredibly difficult. Shorter circuits with fewer straights give drivers limited opportunities to pass. Qiddiya's extended length means multiple strategic overtaking zones, varied corner sequences, and room for drivers to make up time through different racing lines. The 21 corners represent extraordinary variety. You're not just repeating the same type of corner over and over. Fast corners test aerodynamic efficiency, slow corners test mechanical grip, medium-speed corners test driver precision, technical sequences test consistency over multiple consecutive corners. Think of it like a comprehensive exam for race cars. Some circuits test only certain aspects of performance. Monaco tests low-speed agility. Monza tests top speed and power. Qiddiya will test everything simultaneously. The team and driver who dominate here will prove they have the most complete package. Now let's talk about the blade, the 70-meter elevation change. This is where engineering gets truly impressive. Building a steep incline on a Formula One circuit demands a completely different level of precision than road construction. The gradient must be calculated with extreme care so cars avoid bottoming out or losing downforce. The surface has to deliver consistent grip across changing angles. Drainage must perform flawlessly, because rainwater accelerating downhill can turn the track into a serious safety hazard. 70 meters of elevation change means drivers will experience changing G-forces, not just from cornering and braking, but from climbing and descending. Their bodies will feel lighter going uphill as they fight gravity. They'll feel heavier going downhill as gravity pulls them into their seats. The visual impact will be spectacular. Imagine watching cars accelerate to 325 kilometers per hour on a straight, then climb a massive incline where they're dramatically visible against the sky before cresting the hill and disappearing. It's the kind of imagery that makes for incredible television and unforgettable in-person viewing. The 325 km/h top speed means the circuit will rival Monza in Italy and Jeddah as one of the fastest tracks on the calendar. At those speeds, the margin for error disappears. A tire failure at 325 kph can launch a car into the barriers with enough force to total the vehicle instantly. The safety systems have to be absolutely perfect. Now, let's break down that $500 million price tag. Because when you understand where that money is actually going, this project starts to look either brilliant or completely insane, depending on your perspective. At 6 kilometers of track length, that's roughly $83 million per kilometer. That might sound expensive, and it is, but let's put it in context. Formula One circuits don't use regular asphalt. They use specialized racing surfaces that cost $500 to $800 per square meter, roughly 10 times more expensive than highway asphalt. These surfaces need perfect smoothness, specific grip characteristics, and the ability to handle cars generating enough downforce to theoretically drive upside down on a ceiling. For a 6-kilometer track that's 12 to 15 meters wide, you're looking at roughly 75,000 to 90,000 square meters of racing surface. At premium pricing, that's $40 to $70 million just for the asphalt. Then there's the safety infrastructure. Modern F1 circuits require multi-layer barrier systems, tire walls, Tech Pro barriers, safer barriers, and catchment areas. For a 6-kilometer circuit with 21 corners, you need approximately 10 to 12 kilometers of safety barriers when you account for both sides of the track and all the runoff areas. At $2,000, $3,000 per meter for advanced barrier systems, that's $20, $3.5 million. The elevation engineering behind the blade carries a massive cost. It involves moving millions of cubic meters of earth, grading it with extreme precision, stabilizing slopes, and constructing extensive retaining walls. The result is a fully engineered artificial landscape designed to support high-speed racing with zero tolerance for subsidence or structural failure. That single element alone could cost $50 to $100 million. Grandstands and spectator facilities add another major layer of cost. Modern motorsport grandstands function as engineered structures designed around precise sightlines, acoustics, climate control essential in Saudi Arabia's desert heat, along with luxury suites and full accessibility features. When structural support, services, and amenities are included, professional stadium seating typically costs $2,000 to $5,000 per seat. Add in paddock buildings for F1 teams. These are essentially mobile headquarters with engineering bays, hospitality areas, and high-tech garages, race control facilities, medical centers with trauma capabilities, timing systems that measure cars to thousandths of a second, broadcast infrastructure for global television, parking for tens of thousands of vehicles, access roads, utilities including power for the entire facility, and landscaping to prevent desert sand from engulfing the track. Suddenly $500 million doesn't seem excessive, it seems carefully calculated. But here's what's really interesting. The cost per kilometer is actually lower than many comparable new circuits. The Miami Grand Prix circuit, which opened in 2022, cost approximately $350 million for a 5.41 kilometer track. That's about $65 million per kilometer. But Miami is essentially a temporary circuit around a stadium parking lot with minimal permanent infrastructure. Qiddiya, at $83 million per kilometer, costs more per kilometer but delivers a permanent, purpose-built facility with massive elevation changes and world-class infrastructure. Compare it to the Jeddah Corniche circuit at over $800 million for 6.17 kilometers. That's nearly $130 million per kilometer. Qiddiya is actually more cost-efficient than Saudi Arabia's own first F1 circuit. Now zoom out to see the bigger picture. What Saudi Arabia is doing here reaches far beyond racing or tourism. The goal centers on positioning the kingdom as the entertainment and sports capital of the Middle East, directly challenging Dubai's two-decade dominance of the region. Dubai transformed itself from a trading port into a global tourism powerhouse by betting on big, bold projects. The world's tallest building, artificial islands shaped like palm trees, indoor skiing in the desert, 7-star hotels. Dubai showed the world that Middle Eastern cities could become must-visit destinations. But Dubai has one critical weakness. It has almost no oil. Its economy is already diversified, which is good, but it also means Dubai doesn't have the bottomless wealth to keep building ambitious projects indefinitely. Saudi Arabia has the opposite situation. They have massive oil wealth, but haven't built the international reputation or tourism infrastructure that Dubai has. Yet, Qiddiya's Speed Park circuit is part of a larger strategy that includes NEOM, the $500 billion futuristic city project including The Line, a 170-kilometer linear city, the Red Sea project, a luxury tourism development along 200 kilometers of pristine coastline, the broader Qiddiya entertainment megacity surrounding the circuit, dozens of other massive developments across the kingdom. Formula One fits into this strategy perfectly. An F1 race weekend is essentially a 3-day global commercial for the host country. Over 400 million people worldwide watch Formula One races on television. That's 400 million potential tourists seeing Saudi Arabia not as a conservative oil kingdom, but as a modern, exciting destination with world-class facilities. The Qiddiya circuit design plays into this perfectly. A challenging, lengthy circuit with dramatic elevation and high speeds creates better television drama. More overtakes, more excitement, more variety in racing strategy, and more excited viewers means more people thinking, maybe I should visit Saudi Arabia. But there's another layer here, sports diplomacy. Countries like the United States, China, and European nations have used sports to build international relationships for decades. Saudi Arabia is doing the same thing, but at hyperspeed. They've invested in Premier League football, Newcastle United, for over $300 million. Professional golf, live golf, with contracts worth hundreds of millions. Professional boxing, hosting major title fights with unprecedented prize purses, professional wrestling, multi-year WWE event deals, and now Formula One, with 2 circuits. Critics call it sports washing, using sports to improve international reputation and distract from human rights concerns. Supporters call it soft power and economic diversification. Both are probably right. The Qiddiya circuit becomes part of a portfolio of sports assets that give Saudi Arabia influence, visibility, and relationships with global entertainment industries. When F1 teams, drivers, sponsors, and media companies have financial interests in Saudi success, they become stakeholders in the kingdom's transformation narrative. But let's be real, this strategy has massive risks. First, there's the economic reality. Saudi Arabia is spending money at an incredible rate. Vision 2030 projects collectively represent over $1 trillion in planned investment. That's about 1/3 of the entire Saudi economy being gambled on transformation. What happens if oil prices crash before the transformation is complete? What if global tourism doesn't recover to pre-pandemic levels? What if competing destinations like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, or Egypt offer better value for tourists? A $500 million racetrack doesn't generate revenue on its own. It needs to be part of a successful Formula One race weekend that attracts tens of thousands of international visitors, premium sponsors, and global media attention. The circuit also needs to attract other events, endurance races, track days, motorsport schools, to justify operation 300+ days per year. If the Qiddiya race fails to attract crowds like some other new F1 venues have struggled with, it becomes a very expensive monument to ambition. Turkey built a stunning F1 circuit that barely lasted a decade on the calendar. India built a circuit that hosted only 3 races before F1 left. Korea built a circuit in the middle of nowhere that's now essentially abandoned. Second, there's Saudi Arabia's existing F1 race in Jeddah. Having 2 Formula One races in the same country is rare. Only Italy, Austria, and the United States currently do this, and they justify it through distinct regional identities or massive populations. Will Saudi Arabia really support 2 separate Grand Prix weekends? Or will Qiddiya eventually replace Jeddah, making the $800 million Jeddah circuit a short-term solution? Third, there's the driver and team perspective. Formula One drivers and teams have significant influence over which races succeed or fail. The length and technical challenge of Qiddiya could be praised as a proper test of skill, or criticized as exhausting and dangerous. If drivers complain the track is too demanding, too hot, or produces processional racing, the circuit's reputation suffers immediately. Fourth, there's the sustainability question. F1 has committed to becoming carbon neutral by 2030. Building new circuits, especially in countries that require long-haul flights for most team personnel and fans, creates tension with environmental commitments. Saudi Arabia will need to demonstrate credible environmental credentials, ironic for a country built on oil wealth. And finally, there's the human rights dimension that simply cannot be ignored. Saudi Arabia has faced consistent international criticism for its treatment of women, LGBTQ+ individuals, journalists, and political dissidents. The 2018 murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi still shadows Saudi Arabia's international reputation. Formula One's presence in the kingdom generates ongoing controversy. Some fans boycott Saudi races. Some drivers speak out. The tension between sports and politics never fully disappears. For the $500 million investment to pay off, Qiddiya needs to become a fan-favorite circuit, produce exciting races, attract consistent crowds, and help shift international perception of the kingdom. That's a lot riding on 6 kilometers of asphalt and 70 meters of elevation. So here's where we are. Saudi Arabia is betting $500 million on building one of the longest, most technically challenging, most ambitious Formula One circuits ever conceived. The track is being built right now. Construction equipment is reshaping the desert landscape outside Riyadh. Engineers are grading the blade's dramatic incline. Specialized racing asphalt will soon be laid across 6 kilometers of precision-engineered surface. Within 3 years, by 2027, this circuit will host its first Formula One Grand Prix. 20 drivers will attack 21 corners at speeds up to 325 kilometers per hour. They'll climb 70 meters of elevation, experiencing G-forces that push human physiology to its limits, and hundreds of millions of viewers worldwide will watch it happen live. The race will either validate Saudi Arabia's entire Vision 2030 strategy, proving that bold, massive investment can transform a nation's economy and global image, or it will become a cautionary tale about spending enormous amounts of money on projects that look better on architectural renderings than in reality. But here's the thing that should keep racing fans and economists awake at night. Qiddiya Speed Park Circuit is just one piece of a $1 trillion transformation. If this works, if they pull off this engineering marvel and make it one of the calendar's must-watch races, it proves they know something the rest of the world doesn't know about the future of entertainment, tourism, and economic diversification. The circuit will be the longest, most modern F1 tracks. The engineering challenge is unprecedented for a new build circuit. The strategic importance extends far beyond motorsport into geopolitics, economics, and Saudi Arabia's entire national future. Compare this to other Saudi megaprojects. NEOM's The Line promises a car-free city of 9 million people in a structure 170 kilometers long. The Red Sea project promises luxury resorts on previously undeveloped coastline. Qiddiya promises an entertainment destination rivaling Orlando or Las Vegas. All of these projects face the same question: can Saudi Arabia actually pull this off? Can oil wealth be successfully transformed into sustainable tourism, entertainment, and economic diversity before oil wealth runs out? The construction crews are working right now in the desert heat. The first foundation has been poured, the elevation changes are being graded, the world's newest Formula One circuit is taking shape, and the entire world is watching to see if Saudi Arabia's $500 million bet on the future of motorsport will pay off, or become the world's most expensive cautionary tale. The race is scheduled for 2027. 3 years from now, we'll have our answer. The question has moved past construction work that is already underway. The real test comes later. When the lights go out and 20 Formula One cars charge into the first corner, climbing toward the blade at over 300 kilometers per hour, the world will be watching closely. What unfolds could reveal the future of Formula One, or stand as the most expensive gamble the sport has ever seen. We're about to find out. If this project surprised you, wait until you see what's happening inside Saudi Arabia's most secretive mega project. Watch next, The Line in 2025, what they don't want you to see.